You take Femera, very similar to Clomid.
Might as well cancel everything. I was taking a piss, and as I was flushing, my wiener fell off, so doesn't matter about any fertility stuff.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Ben and I are on a little bit of an adventure today, so I thought that I would bring you guys with us. We are taking the next steps in our infertility journey. If you haven't seen the videos explaining kind of our infertility journey and PCOS and all of that, I'll link them in the cards above and below, so you should watch that first. But this is our next steps. We're heading into San Francisco, which is a little bit of an adventure for us. It's like an hour away without traffic. This fertility clinic was very highly recommended by my doctor and then also someone that I know. So we're going to see a doctor there today to kind of discuss next steps because the Clomid did not work for us. So I'm not going to vlog like in the appointment. I might someday if we're actually going to move forward with some sort of treatment, but I thought that I would just vlog to tell you guys kind of what happens and what the plan for next steps are, because I honestly have no idea what he's going to say. So we shall see what he says. Say hi. We are coming into the city. For those of you who have never seen San Francisco in real life, here is the Golden Gate Bridge. I would love to know if anyone that's watching me, which I'm sure there are people who have never seen the Golden Gate Bridge in real life or who have never been to San Francisco. Ben and I were talking about it, and I was saying how I've probably been over it like at least 100 times in my life, and it just seems so normal to me. And you can see the city over there. Oh, you can't really see it. You can see Alcatraz. You can't really see it. But this is the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a beautiful day in San Francisco today. Normally it's quite foggy and cold, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty day. Hey guys, so I am finishing this vlog. Obviously this is another day. This is not the same day. It's actually like a week and a half later, but I wanted to wait to finish telling you what happened at the doctor's appointment until we talked to our like care coordinator lady and until Ben got his results back from his sperm analysis. So that's all happened. So I'm just gonna give you guys an update on what happened at the doctor's and like kind of what our next steps are. So the appointment went really well. I really liked our doctor. He was really nice. I didn't know how I was gonna feel about having like a male doctor because I've never had a male like vagina doctor before, but it was totally fine. He like made me very comfortable and it wasn't weird at all. So we started the appointment with just a consultation, like told him about my history of what we had done so far. And he explained PCOS kind of in more an in-depth way. And then he said, you know, there's like 3 options for treatment from here on out: just medication and IUI, or medication and IVF, which is kind of what I, figured. There isn't really anything else that you can do besides those 3 options. And so we did the consultation and then we went in for the ultrasound, and I had told him that my doctor, when she initially diagnosed me, had said that I definitely had PCOS, but it wasn't like severe PCOS. And he said typically in severe PCOS you see kind of follicles like lining around the entire ovary, like it makes like a ring. And when he looked at my ovaries, he said, what my doctor said initially was correct. I did not have that like full ring around my ovary of follicles, but I definitely had an excess of follicles. And he's like, okay, there's your uterus, everything looks fine, just like my other doctor had said. He goes to like the left ovary, and he's like, yep, you definitely have PCOS. There's like, and he starts counting, and he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 20. He's like, there's like 20 follicles in there that never matured and never ovulated. So that's like all your missed periods. And I was like, I saw like 3. Literally everything just looked like blobs. Like, I don't know how the doctors can tell what's what, but he said that there was like 20. So I had like 20 follicles in my ovary that never matured. He said they were all, you know, way too small. Like none of them were even close to ovulation size. And then he kind of just like went around everything in there and showed us what each thing was. He was even able to like see a vein that like runs into my leg that you could watch like beat with my heart, which was really weird. And then he went into the other ovary and he was like, yep, same story over here. There's like 20 follicles. And then he goes, oh, you recently ovulated. And I was like, I literally looked at Ben. I was like, because the funny story is I had just a few days prior told Ben, I was like, I feel like I'm going to ovulate. I feel like my body feels or has felt the past couple of times that I did ovulate. But if you watched my part 2 of my infertility story, I told you how like my body has played so many tricks on me that I'm just like no longer trusting my body. So I was feeling those things, but I was like, I'm not gonna ovulate. I was supposed to ovulate like 3 weeks ago on my last round of Clomid. I don't ovulate naturally. I was just like, my body's just being weird. So when he said that, Ben and I literally both looked at each other like, because I was right. And I was like, can you tell how recent it was? And he was like, definitely within the last 5 days, which is true because it's now been a week and a half and I started my period. So he was right. You could see like in the ovary, there was like this black smudge kind of where it was like, that was where the egg came out and released. And he could tell, and I was literally so annoyed because I don't know if that ovulation was just a very, very, very late ovulation from the Clomid, like if that was that follicle from Clomid and I just released literally like 3 weeks too late, or if I completely created another one and ovulated on my own. I have no idea. So, but I did. So that's kind of a good thing. But the worst part about it is that he was like, oh, you know, you could be pregnant. Well, there's no way of knowing. But no, there's no way I am because I'm on my period. But I knew there was no way that I was because we had no chance of it being like an accident because right as the time where we would have had to be trying based off on the date that I ovulated was when Ben was getting his semen analysis done. And so we couldn't. So that was, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So but he said yes, everything else looked normal. Definitely have PCOS, but again, it's not like a crazy severe terrible case. And he said sometimes before starting other treatment, they want to do like this exploratory other procedure where you like check your fallopian tubes and like all kinds of things. But he said that based on my health history, my age, and that I've never really had any other issues like pain or anything, that's really not necessary at this point, that he thinks that just the PCOS is the problem. So semen analysis, Ben got his results and he tells me, the lady calls and she goes, okay, so your count was 167 and normal is 40 million. And he's like, 167? Like thinking like 167, just 167, and you need 40 million. And so he's like, I was just quiet on the phone. And then she's like, so you have like 4 times the normal amount. And he was like, oh. So thankfully, Ben has 167 million sperm in one sample, which is like excellent. So thank God we don't have to worry about that. So that was like a huge relief to me because it's just one less thing to worry about. So basically what happened was he says, my recommendation for you would be to start taking Femera, which is essentially like Clomid. It does the same thing. It's just a different drug. He said his office doesn't even prescribe Clomid because it is so terrible because people have such bad side effects, because it doesn't always work for people, and that they have found that Femara works much better and has way fewer side effects. And so he said they don't even prescribe Clomid. So what we're going to do is you take Femara, very similar to Clomid.
Might as well cancel everything. I was taking a piss, and as I was flushing, my wiener fell off. So doesn't matter about any fertility stuff. Bye now.
That's Ben for you. Anyway, so he says I recommend doing Femara and like doing IUI with it, which if you don't know what IUI is, it's intrauterine insemination, also known as artificial insemination. So essentially they put a catheter inside of me. They pass the cervix up into the uterus and then put the sperm in through that. So basically the sperm goes exactly where it needs to be, and it doesn't have to go through, you know, it doesn't have to swim up from the vagina through the cervix to the uterus. It's like right there in the uterus. And the cervix can actually be very hostile for sperm sometimes. So that's why sometimes people have trouble getting pregnant, and why IUI works so much better is because it bypasses the cervix and it just puts it right there, literally right next to the egg where it needs to go. So this is the process that we're going to take. We have decided, yes, we're going to do IUI. He said you can do the Femara and do like timed intercourse, or you could do it with IUI. And we've just decided to do it with IUI. We don't want to mess with the timed intercourse. We'll just jump right into IUI. So this is what's going to happen. Because I don't ovulate regularly, I will very likely have to take Prevera at least the first, I have hair in my mouth, at least the first cycle to jumpstart my period like I did before. And then what you do is like day 2-ish of your period, you go in for an ultrasound. They do a baseline ultrasound just to make sure everything looks good. You don't have any weird cysts, anything, basically that you're clear to start the treatment. And then on day 3 of your period, you start taking the Femara. You take it for 5 days, just like Clomid. And then on day 10, just like Clomid, you start using ovulation predictor kits. And around day 12, you go in for another ultrasound where this is your follicle scan, very similar again to Clomid. You check the size of your follicle, you see, you know, they see if you're close to ovulating. Sometimes you don't get positive ovulation predictor kits. They still want you to, but that's why you have these follicle scans also, to really track when you ovulate. And so basically, either once you get a positive ovulation test or you have a large enough follicle and a scan, you do a trigger shot, which is a medication that is a shot that you do in your stomach, and it essentially makes sure you ovulate. Because that's my problem, is that yes, sometimes I would grow follicles, but like they wouldn't always release, and so that shot makes sure you ovulate. So you could wind up going in for like 1 to 3 follicle scans if you're still getting negative ovulation tests. Like you go in literally every other day to check the progress of your egg, and once it's big enough, or once you get that positive ovulation predictor kit, you do your shot. And then the next day, generally, you go in for your IUI. So I potentially could be going to my doctor in San Francisco each cycle, maybe 3 to 6 times. It just depends. So it's definitely a time commitment. And so for that reason, we have decided to wait until July to start this, just for like work reasons. It just works out better for me to start in July. We're gonna still, you know, try naturally. Like I'm gonna track my ovulation this month, and you know, maybe I'll happen to ovulate again, I don't know. So that's the plan where it stands. And my doctor seemed very confident that Femara would be much better for me than Clomid. We're starting me on a lower dose, not the lowest, because I did have to take the highest dose of Clomid and it was still unsuccessful. So he's starting me on a lower dose, but not as low as he starts some patients, and he really thinks that it's going to work. He's very confident based on my age, our health, and then now with Ben's amazing sperm count that it will work. So we're hoping that it works. I'm really excited to get this next step going. I'm definitely going to keep taking you guys along for it. I haven't quite figured out how I want to vlog this process. If I want to like make separate vlogs kind of per section, like, you know, now I'm starting my medication and I went in for my follicle scan, and like that whole thing is a vlog, and today I'm doing my trigger shot and that whole thing is a vlog. Or if I want to compile it all into like one, like talking about my meds, I'm talking about my ultrasounds, talking about my shots, talking about the IUI, like all in one vlog. I haven't really decided how I want to do that yet, but I guess it'll just kind of depend on how it goes. I'm definitely going to be asking the doctor's office if I can film in the office. That's the plan. So starting in July, we're going to start the first round of IUI, lots of medication, lots of doctor's visits, lots of money. So hopefully it only takes like 1 or 2. I think they generally do about 6 rounds of IUI before they start saying you should be doing IVF. So I really hope it doesn't come to that. I'm planning to make a video also once I've gone through the first cycle and see what the expenses are on the cost, because that information is not really out there. Many people don't talk about that, and I want to, because a lot of people want to know what it costs to go through this. So once I do it and see exactly, because we have estimates right now, but we don't know exactly. Once I do that, I'll go through and I'll talk about like the cost of the medication, the cost of the appointments, the cost of the actual insemination, all of that, because I think people, want to know that this might happen. So that's the update. That was long. That was a big update. So like I said, I'm not starting until July, so there's not going to be another fertility related video for quite a while. But once we do start that process, I will absolutely be vlogging and keeping you up to date. And I'm excited. I'm very hopeful and I'm very optimistic, and I think that this is going to work for us. So all of your good thoughts are appreciated. All of the kind comments on my infertility story are so appreciated. You guys watching are so appreciated. It seriously means a lot to me. I feel like I have this little family on YouTube that is there to rally for us and cheer us on and support us, and it's just really special. So if you have not subscribed and you want to follow my journey along with my other videos that I post, then consider subscribing. That would mean the world to me. And like this video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!